Welcome to Module 2, Session 1. I'm just going to wait for everyone to join. And then we're going to start. Hi, Hannah. How are you?
Good. I couldn't get past the screen to open up my video or my volume
Oh,
because I
really?
had
What
to
was going
well, there was a dialogue window for recording in progress that I needed to okay first. So as soon as I did that, then I could unblock the other stuff.
Got you. Good to see you. How are you?
Good.
Great.
I wasn't sure how today would go because it's Thanksgiving, but everything is calm. Everything is happening without me. So
Oh, yeah. Oh,
turkeys
thank
and a
you so
sous
much for tuning
vide.
in. Yeah, because it's probably you guys have a lot of family stuff going on right now.
No, the opposite, actually. My parents are with my sister in Mississippi, so they take turns where they'll be.
Oh, I see. So it's not your turn today. Well, lucky me. I got you here. Beautiful. Okay, that sounds great. So let's wait if anybody else joins us today. We have 3 more people, but some of them just watch it online. So let's see what happens today. Were you able to look at the homework? And you're muted, Hannah, just in case, so that you know.
My dog is going nuts. That's why.
Oh, how is he feeling, by the way?
Well, he's okay. I don't know what's out the window. A car, I think, at the moment. He's okay. Although one day he had 3 seizures in one day, and we're
Oh,
not sure
man.
why.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to ask you if you had any questions about the last session homework from module 1. There were some, there was like a blog post on energy orgasms and some videos there. I also talked a little bit about color breathing meditation. Anything that came up for you there?
Well, before with the homework, I was thinking, well, I get through my reading, but now I did a lot more self-reflection than that because I think that's what I needed. I think it was the last session where we talked about trying to connect the belly and the heart, which I have a lot of difficulty doing. So I was reflecting on that, trying to get to the core issue because I think it's not shame, it's not. And then I thought, where's the fear?
Yeah.
It's a trust issue.
Oh,
is what it is, right? It's the fear of disappointment. And I think I was reading somewhere about how people who are very self-sufficient, it's a coping mechanism. So it's not a bad thing necessarily, but they wouldn't have been so independent if they didn't feel like they couldn't rely on anybody but themselves.
So they function separately, the heart and the second energy center.
But yeah, I mean, that seems to be a common theme, is this idea of just allowing. So allowing movement, allowing sound, allowing feelings, allowing anything. Right. But I think to do that, you really have to trust yourself and you really have to trust the other person. So I think for me, that's the root of it.
Very true. I agree with you. Hi, Pedro. It's good to see you.
Hello.
Hello. Welcome to module 2, session 1. So excited to see you guys. So me and Hannah were just talking about the last 4th session module. Do you have any questions about the homework that was there? Anything on the no, you're good.
The only thing that I was going to comment you is that I'm being sick all week. I got COVID and I'm been feeling very weak. So yesterday I tried to catch up on that before today's class, but yesterday was blocked. It didn't allow me.
Oh man, yeah.
And today I went in and I read the material. I don't know what happened yesterday. I see videos and everything, but I definitely missed my homework because I was feeling awful all week.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, you can always send it in this week if that works better for you.
Yeah.
That sounds incredible. Beautiful. And if you guys have a moment, I would absolutely love to hear your feedback on module number 1. So there is like a little questionnaire there, feedback questionnaire. It's very short. It looks like this. please let me know, what you appreciated the most and how it could be improved. I would love to hear from you guys on that.
Okay, I will.
Beautiful. You guys are the best. Okay, perfect. So we're going to keep, you will still have access to module number 1 for until the end of our course. So feel free to just browse and look into it whenever you need to. And then today we're starting module number 2. So this is, I gave all of you access to this as well. So you should be able to access today's session. Today we're going to be focusing more on Kundalini energy movement, right? So this whole module, we're going to keep diving into the healing skills, but also keep focusing more on the sexual energy. And so today we're going to chat a bit more about different ways of how, what are the energy orgasms all about, right? Like maybe answer some of your questions, or perhaps you can tell me your experience with this. There are also a bunch of videos that I have on energy orgasms on my YouTube channel, so you're welcome to take a look at them. I will share an energy orgasm overview with you. I will also share a handout that I used when I used to offer energy orgasm over 4 sessions to my clients. Now I use more of the combination of a course, like a solo mastery course and guidance. So I'll share with you how I do that as well. And then we'll do a few practices that have to do more with sort of sensual energy and starting to prepare for the energy orgasm. And we have homework as usual. I would recommend starting to maybe look for clients that are open to experiencing energy orgasm, because as we go through this program, we will also start practicing with them step by step, right? So it's always good to be able to have a couple of people. And I know, Hannah, this might be a bit of an issue for you. Like, do you have anybody in mind for this?
No, I have been asking. There's a Kundalini yoga class, which is actually in the same town as me. And I know you mentioned the ecstatic dance, but the closest to me is an hour away that does that.
Right.
There are people, we have 2 circus schools here, so I don't know if, people who are into aerial arts would be more open-minded, but usually no, because it's such a personal and intimate thing, just to say, hi, you don't know me, but if you're curious about this or not. So no, I don't know where I'll find people who are curious and
well, let's set the intention and maybe
explore.
brainstorm as well. What about you, Petra? What comes up for you? You have access to clients that would be open to this work, right? You will have no issue finding people.
Yeah, I have no problem finding people.
Beautiful. So maybe let's help Hannah brainstorm a little bit. Like, I'm thinking yoga studios, ecstatic dance, tantra meetups, maybe even Facebook, if you're able to perhaps connect to some of the groups that are close to your area that focus on like sexuality or healing or personal development, maybe even therapy or open relationships. Like, I think any of those umbrellas are sort of overlapping. Does anything else come to mind?
I did ask my chiropractor. She actually referred me to somebody who he works on pet massage, but it's a husband and wife team. And they met Barbara in the past. And so they do flotation therapy and breath work.
Nice.
Combined, and they do
could be quite good.
pets and people, but I mean, he's more into the giving end and not the, but I don't know, maybe he's connected or she's familiar with other people who want to explore this. And
amazing. So just setting the intention and looking for people. That sounds great. I was also going to mention that we did chelation, right? And like sort of following this book on by Barbara Brandon, she also outlined a few other things here. So feel free to kind of read through them. For example, last time I was doing, I think it was Shamil, and he said that he may join us today, but maybe he chose not to because he doesn't really speak English, so he would need a translator. So he's been basically watching this in recording. But when we practiced with him, there was a situation that came up when he wanted to restructure chakra, and there's actually a technique for that. So if you guys want to check it out, it's on page 225 of Hands of Light. And if you ever want me to teach you that technique, we can always connect sort of separately and go over that. So take a look at some of the healing sequences that we have on Hands of Light, starting from page 200. We did chelation, but she also teaches spine healing, and then there is chakra restructuring and so on, right? So that might be something interesting. Do you guys have any questions on module number 1 before we move on to module number 2? Anything else that's sort of outstanding for you there with healings or with chakra diagnostics? No? You guys are good?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, sounds great. Okay, beautiful. So let's dive into today's material. So let's chat a little bit about Kundalini energy. What comes up for you guys when you think about Kundalini energy? What have you learned about it, and what does it signify to you?
I think for me, power, but the other two things that come up, one was from Penny Kelly, who an author, and you know she teaches as well, but because of her, I think of like she's always wringing her hands and cautionary, you know, this is a powerful thing, and it can, you know, because she had her awakening 40 years ago and she didn't know anything about it in the 80s, and so there's like a fear around it that, you know, don't awaken the dragon. And the other one is from the Creation series of books from J. Essex Era, guy in Georgia, but he mentioned, well, we used to have two. So you had your own soul essence, and then the other like spiral was from the earth. But as of a certain year, according to him, it's nobody has two essences, they only have their own. So there's nothing else borrowed. So those are the two things that stick out in my mind. Other than that, I think, well, is it ever, I mean, it's not like it's not plugged in. Maybe you don't feel it, but I don't think it's totally offline.
Thank you. I haven't heard of either of those. Would love to get maybe the sources, like the names. Thank you, Hannah. What about you, Pedro? What comes up for you?
Well, Kundalini, in my mind, Kundalini is the energy of life. It's energy that is created in the first chakra and fill all our body with energy. It's the energy that is created by our body, energy in top of the energy that we consume from Mother Earth or the universe, you know. And I don't know, Kundalini is the first energy that the body start creating when the fetus start growing up. Creating. Now, thinking of Kundalini as part of the sexual energy, in mind, Kundalini is that, you know, is a sexual force that makes us be alive. And there's a lot of different feelings, sensations that we can create on the movement of the Kundalini. And there's a lot of pleasure that could be created on that when we open our awareness to that energy. Because it's always there. And I don't know, basically that's what is on my mind. I took a training of Kundalini Awakening.
Oh, beautiful.
This year. So I'm working on that. I do some Kundalini Awakening, Kundalini sessions, which is very interesting. And that was what pushed me to take this training. But like, it was the seed, and then I said I need to go and finish it because first in this training for a couple of years, and after I got my certifications on Kundalini Awakening, I said this is the time to do it.
I love it. That's amazing. Beautiful. I love what both of you have shared. And I agree. Kundalini energy, it's interesting to kind of think about what dimension it belongs to, because some people say, you know, it weaves around the energy centers, and then other people say, well, it comes close to the Tantien, right? And how do you, like, how does that coincide with Barbara's vision of, you know, energy field being a separate dimension from you know, the Tantien and the Hara line, the level of intention, right? And she doesn't talk about Kundalini at all from what I've seen in her studies. So it's very interesting. So in my mind, it is an energy that sort of usually depicted as coiled snake that sleeps at the base of your spine, and then you can awaken it and starts to sort of slowly come up all around the energy center. energies, maybe in a different dimension, maybe in the same, I'm not sure. To me, it's like a separate force. It probably is semantics anyways. And then it starts to come up, right? And then some teachings, then you learn to kind of move it out of your seventh, and then others you keep cycling it in sort of your body, and then you store it in your stomach, because they say that it's not good to leave this powerful energy in your head. It's better to just sort of keep it here as if it's your own battery, right? In my experience, Kundalini could be both. It could be sort of a source of like more spiritual awakening, right? And it could be very sexual in nature. When we do energy orgasms, a lot of people expect them to be like extremely sexual, right? Whereas a lot of times they're not. Sometimes it's more of an energetic phenomena, right? Sometimes it's more of an enlightenment or like spiritual awakening. Sometimes it's more of an emotional movement of energy. So I had people who had like laugh orgasms or cry orgasms. It's a very free and experience. And if you're feeling excited, or if we teach the client how to kind of tap into that more of the sensual state, then it becomes more of the sexual movement, right? So I usually explain that to the client so they know what to expect, so that they are not disappointed. And another thing, having expectations before having this experience is kind of difficult as well, right? Because we keep on focusing on this end result, whereas what really gives us more pleasure and more ability to have that experience in the first place is being mindful and staying in the moment and really focusing on what we're experiencing, right? Like being here and now and starting to move this energy. So we're going to start learning step by step on how to experience this energy. So let me pull up the first handout. So I have this, I'm not sure if you guys have seen this article that I've written on energy orgasm. So yeah, you have, beautiful. Okay, so it goes into explaining sort of this phenomena and what it's all about, and we can experience this. This is not gender specific. It doesn't really, and so maybe I'll just stop sharing because you guys have seen it anyways. It's not gender specific. A lot of times I'm asked by men, or is it only women who can experience it? No, like it's really just energetic in nature, and so anybody can experience it. And then people ask me, well, do I have to, somebody reached out to me and said, do I have to be a lesbian to have this experience? And like, it really doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is all about, right? This could also be useful for people who, let's say, like I had some older clients, for example, who had some ED issues, because it's not like, it really doesn't matter what's happening to you physically. It's an energetic phenomenon. It's very useful for a range of experiences, right? And I had a lot of female clients who were unable to experience orgasm, and it was a gentle way for them to start experiencing the orgasm. So it has a bunch of benefits to it. Usually when I go through this experience, what I teach my clients is we need to go step by step. And so in this handout here that we have in our course, it talks about what the energy orgasm is all about, talks about this phenomena, then I go into the closest the science comes to explaining the energy orgasm. And usually the way I would explain it is quantum field theory says that our universe is comprised of multiple infinite large vibrational fields of energy, right? So we are energetic in nature. There's a lot more space in us than matter. And so this is sort of the energy that we're tapping into. And in order to start experiencing energy orgasms, usually most of the following steps need to take place. And we're going to start exploring them step by step. So practicing sensing energy. And sometimes we get clients, and I might have mentioned this before, that are extremely sensitive. They come to you, like Pedro and I, when we had our session, the client, he was doing the chelation, but the client at the end of it just basically went into like shaking, right? And so she could have totally had the experience. I believe we just the internet glitched, and so I'm not sure what happened there at the end. Pedro.
Yeah, she had a nice experience at that moment, but when the internet glitched,
yeah,
everything went down.
It was distractive, yeah. Yeah. And so you will have clients like that who just go into it, right? And then you just go with the flow. You don't need to take them through any other steps. But then we have other clients who are more maybe analytical in nature, right? Who maybe are not as sensitive, perhaps the ones that haven't meditated before, maybe the ones that don't easily experience orgasm, right? And so for them, it's harder to get into the state. And so for them, we need to teach them how to experience it. And usually I used to do it over 4 sessions where like methodically I would sort of explain, okay, this is what the energy field is about. These are the energy centers. Let us learn how to sense the energy. Let us explore some meditative energetic exercises. Let us do a few healings, right? And then we start going into more of the, what are our blockages? How do we remove the blockages? And only maybe session 3 and 4, I started introducing the concept of this is how you experience energy orgasm on your own. And I'll share the technique with you as we go along in our program. And basically I teach them to practice it themselves, and then I add facilitation on top of it. So, you know, sometimes people think that it's just your facilitation that makes it happen. Sometimes for some clients it does, but for others, they need to also take the steps like in their healing journey, in their sensitivity journey, in their sort of getting access to their sexual energy journey in order to succeed. Often you can predict how quickly or how easily a person may achieve it by asking them questions like, you know, have you meditated before? Do you, you know, like how much personal development work have you done? How expressive are you, like sexual? Do you feel comfortable, let's say, making sounds or moving with the energy, right? Like, are you able to surrender easily? And people, like I've had clients ejaculate hands-free in my place, and even though it's like completely, everybody's fully clothed, it's an energetic practice, so I don't practice hands-on, but they had those experiences. I had women ejaculate also hands-free, like long distance in person, right? So some people are extremely sensitive, but then if you have a client, let's say you have a person who has never had a G-spot orgasm before, the chances are they're not gonna squirt from this experience the first time around, right? Usually they need to kind of know how to do that. Like if, let's say, you are squirted, you can totally squirt from this experience. But if you've never experienced squirting before, you probably are better off learning the techniques of experiencing squirting in the first place, and then sort of learning to experience it from this the hand-free movement. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Have people, I'm sure people have different motives and interests and reasons for pursuing this, but I wonder if they have other experiences afterwards that they weren't anticipating, which is like the awakening of all these other senses and abilities, you know, you know, out-of-body experiences, memories, more vivid dreams, everything down that pathway. Because I don't know if people get into it for that reason, but I like the, you know, the cautionary tales that I've been told as well. When it's not expected, then people sort of don't know what to do with that, because all of a sudden they're at the grocery store and they're feeling orgasmic, you know, they need to find some place to hide, or just their whole life is kind of flipped. I don't know if you've had, see, I don't, other than a very small limited number of people that I talk to, I don't know anybody all that well, other than maybe over video, that's had these experiences, or that's had not just like a like a pleasant orgasmic experience, but like the full-blown Kundalini awakening of, hey, I've got like all these abilities that I didn't even know I had. Now I don't know what to do with them. So I don't know if any of your clients have come back and said, oh, hey, these weird dreams keep coming, or, you know, I can't get back in my body at night, and I sit on my roof for months on end, you know, because I never go to sleep anymore. You know? Right.
It's a great question. For me, and maybe Pedro can also share, because you also have a healing practice, so you probably are accustomed to it. I think the fact that we limit this experience to, let's say, minimum 4 sessions, already sort of, and the way we position it kind of prevents people from just getting off, right? Because that's, and sometimes that's fine, right? Like sometimes, let's say you're a tantric practitioner, a person comes to experience pleasure, and that's what they do, right? I think when we do it in conjunction with healing and learning spirituality, it's a more gradual process, and you attract people that are interested sort of in both, not just the physicality of it, because it's too much of an investment just to experience this physically, right? I think there needs to be another interest for this. And so people typically tend to be pretty open-minded when they come to me. A lot of times they probably have done some research or maybe experienced some spiritual teachings before, maybe experientials. And sometimes I do have, like, during our sessions, people like legitimately not freaking out, but like having this, oh my God, what is that? Like I had a client who all of a sudden his third eye opened and he like just started seeing things. He's like, oh my God. And so that those kind of responses and reactions, you know, or somebody who is feeling this movement of sexual energy for the first time, or feeling the energy for the first time, is like, cool, it smokes, I didn't know that existed. But it tends to be positive. Like I've never heard anybody say, oh my God, I can't fall asleep, or, you know, like after a session, after any healing session, you may end up having sort of more physical experiences for a day or two, just because we moved some blockages. Some people may feel a bit lightheaded, like after the session, but once you ground them, they're normally fine. Like I haven't heard any bad side effects per se, but definitely their high sense perception increases, and they start incorporating this practice, and I think their life changes. Like people who I worked with for longer, not just the energy orgasm, but like longer time, they start shifting their life around because their energy is differently aligned now, because they learn how to manifest things. They release some of the blockages, shame and guilt and judgment, right? And so they start embracing the life that they wanted to embrace more and more. So that's what I found, like they're becoming just more authentically aligned with who they are. So that has been my experience. What about you, Pedro? What comes up for you?
Yeah, it's basically the same, because people that comes, I do tantric touch, and I really do a follow-up next day. I always send a message or call them asking how they sleep, how they feel, everything. Because you open a lot of different emotions. People sometimes are looking for the sexual release, and what we are working here is much deeply than that.
Yeah, it's deeper.
Yeah. So, and I always explain them, this is gonna open your channel, your sensitivity, and on the tantric sessions I do, my goal has never been an orgasm. If the orgasm is welcome, you know, because we are going into a deeper state. So I don't know. I haven't had any of the people that I work with coming telling me that they don't know what to do with this extra sexual energy in their life. I think that more than that is more balanced than before when they start working with me.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It is a deeper work for sure, and I think once we explain it, and maybe that's just me, like I get a lot of messages from people, you know, just saying, oh my God, you know, how much is it to like come or something, right? Like people don't understand the phenomenon. And so I think what we need to do is we need to educate them what this entails, right? And what it entails is it's deep healing, and it's quite spiritual and energetic in nature, and it's quite an investment in your own personal growth. And so to me, it is personal growth, and sort of the spiritual movement is the primary goal, and then sort of the sexual openness is the secondary goal. And as Pedro said, like orgasm is sort of a byproduct of what we experience. So it's it's a very complex phenomenon. Some people say that the energy orgasm doesn't really do it justice, right? Because it's a lot more than that. It's a beautiful healing experiential way to learn and to grow and to become more aligned with who you are deep down inside. So maybe it's just a matter of positioning and perhaps coming up with a different language for it. And so we would teach them how to sense the energy, we would give them meditative exercises, how to release energetic blockages. We would do a few sessions and healings and kind of start testing their energy field a bit, right? And start looking for the signs of, you know, how open are you, right? Like once you learn those techniques of facilitation, you can always mix and match. And while you're doing chelation, you can also like start maybe charging a little bit and see, okay, is this person reacting or do we need more, right? And there are different tools that I also use and encouraging them to dive into that space that is more sexual, if that's what we want to achieve. And I'll share it with you guys. So in terms of the energy movement guidelines, staying present and mindful, and this is what I would share with them, staying present and mindful during the lovemaking session with a partner is always a good way to connect. And then just experiencing anything that emerges, like as Pedro said, the not trying to go for the specific goal, like you can set the intention, but just kind of let it go and then just focus on what is coming to you, and just trust that whatever happens to you is going to be exactly what needs to happen. I also encourage people to use breath and visualization vocalization to express the energy, right? And today we'll go over some exercises that would allow us to start practicing it as well. And as part of our program, we are going to experience energy orgasms ourselves. And then also visualize and circulate on the energy. We use pelvic floor muscle squeezes to also kind of use as our own sexual pump. So when people practice at home, I can say you could just use whatever you would like, right? Whether it's a vibrator, your hand, playing with your partner, like however you want to kind of create that energy, the sexual energy at the base. But in our practice, we usually use the PC muscle squeeze, just kind of get started a little bit and to get that into more of that sensual movement. And then we also facilitate this energy orgasm by applying different techniques. And so some of the ways to build towards energy orgasms is sensing into your body, becoming aware of and clearing blockages, boosting the intuition. We also vary breath, and then moving and rocking the body, using the PC muscles, and then focusing also on the six senses. I also encourage people to embrace their sexual force, and sometimes as part of this experience, I take them through like turn-ons and turn-off exercise when I ask them what turns you on, in various areas of your life. And I have a handout on that I can show you guys if you'd like. And then once they're more aware of their turn-ons and their turn-offs, then they can sort of play up their turn-ons as well, right? So in my practice, I use all of the possible ways to enhance that experience, whether it's physically focusing on the sensations, moving, sounding things out using the PC muscle squeeze, whether it's more intellectually kind of diving into the sexual space, remembering the fantasies, maybe diving into your turn-ons, emotional, right? Just like tuning into it. I would use the language to guide them as well, and then energetic, right? And so I find that when you use all of that together in conjunction, that works the best. Does that make sense? Yeah. Do you guys have any questions on that part so far?
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Sounds good. So let me share with you the handout, and it's part of your course as well. And this is handout that you can sort of create a similar handout if this works for you guys. And this is how I would usually take people through my 4 sessions, right? So in the first session, I would usually explain to them that this is the chakra system. And I would say, let's talk about different chakras. I would go over the names, their qualities, and we will basically explore and understand what it's all about. Then I would take them through the energy field, and I would explain that there's an auric field all around us that looks almost like onion rings, but each of them penetrates the other. So the higher vibrating fields penetrate all through the body. And I would also go over how Kundalini sort of starts to rise around the energy centers and how it gets to the top of the energy centers and how it starts cycling. We're going to do microcosmic orbit practice today with you guys. Have you tried microcosmic orbit? Pedro probably has, right? What about you, Hannah? No, so we'll practice it together on today. So this is sort of one of the foundational exercises that we can do to start moving the sexual energy in our body. And basically what it includes is it combines the breath, the PC muscle squeeze, the visualization, and sort of movement to start moving this energy and accessing this energy. And then usually when I start diving with my clients into the session with healing blockages, I may also give them homework and say, okay, these are, what are the problems and the blockages that you might be facing emotionally, spiritually, and which ones do you want to dissolve, right? And I will actually ask them to maybe do a multidimensional body scan that we will also dive into next session. Ask them to do a bit of a meditation and start identifying these blockages within them so that they can send me this homework and we can start working through those problems, through those issues. So I tend to be acting more as a guide, as opposed to telling people what I'm seeing or what I'm, and it really depends on your style, right? Like some people have a balance of, you know, tell me how are you feeling, and then this is how I feel, and then we sort of arrive at this balanced approach. Some people usually don't ask as much, but they share their high sense perception, right? Their vision and so on. And then other people just guide their clients to explore it themselves. So let me know which method speaks to you the most, or maybe you need to experiment and experience. What comes up for you guys with regards to guidance versus like sharing your findings?
I guess it depends on the person. I think anything that's powerful would have a certain appeal of like the Roto-Rooter approach to therapy. You know, we're just going to blow it, you know, like rapidly, right? So not that it's a quick fix, but I mean, that's what comes up for me, I think.
Right.
Because I think of myself and I think, well, you know, so I've known you for less than a year, but I mean, you know, on this journey with myself, and I'm still surprised at what comes up for me, because I think,
Yeah.
where has that been hiding?
Right.
Oh, now it feels like it can come out. Okay,
Yeah.
well, this could have, you know, happened months ago, but it, you know, now it's coming. So I think people can't really expect to sort of, you know, you might discover something, but that doesn't mean there's other things that you won't discover later.
And for sure, it's an ongoing process, for sure. Yeah, each time you sort of go deeper. What about you, Pedro? What comes up for you when you think about, do you tend to share more? Do you tend to guide your client just to tell you how they feel about the work?
It depends on the person that is in front of you, because sometimes they need some guidance in order to start opening and start sharing.
Yep.
And sometimes they're expecting you to tell what you feel.
Yeah.
But what I found is when you start telling them something that you sense or you visualize during the session, they start opening and they start telling you. Because there's a lot of times that they say, well, I didn't feel anything, I didn't see anything. And then you start talking to them, and then that nothing converts into something, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I imagine this, or something comes into my, oh, yeah, exactly, that's what we were looking for.
Yeah.
That color or that shape or that idea or that specific statement came into your mind, that's exactly what we're working on.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a great point too. Like both of you made great points. I think it's also client specific, right? Like some clients are more clairvoyant and they just want to tell you everything they see, and there's just like this beautiful, you know, colorful experience that they're having. And then other people may get tense when you ask them what's going on, right? They would be like, nothing, I'm relaxed. And so for those types of clients, it's probably best not to probe and just like normalize their experience, because, you know, a lot of people are not very clairvoyant, and we do teach them to become more sensitive, but at the end of the day, that's not what they do for a living, right? So they might not be as perceptive. Yeah. I do find, however, when people are very kind of in tune with themselves, this work is much easier for them than people who tend to just be very analytical and like they're just not in touch with their body. They don't know where their emotions are, or they don't feel anything, right? That may be potentially an issue, because it's a bit of like there's a bit of a disconnect there, right? They're maybe not as sensitive.
I feel like the X-ray vision powers are limited in a good way. Like like you don't just get to turn them on and then you get to do whatever with them. Like you don't get special skills unless you're very responsible with them. So anything you see, you were meant to see, and anything you don't see, it wasn't for the. Like I have a lot of trust in the process and the.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah. And I believe that some people are more talented in this than others, right? Like some people are born with it, but I also believe that you can train this, like you can learn this. This is a skill. The more you practice, the more clairvoyant you will become. Perhaps if this is one of your core qualities and you're very gifted in it, perhaps you'll be a lot more clairvoyant than somebody who's maybe not as gifted. similar to, I guess, subjects when we study, like, let's say somebody, you know, is better at math than at English. But yeah, it's something we can definitely dive deeper into, but also normalizing the experience that, hey, you know, if you're feeling calm and relaxed, that's fine. You don't have to be like seeing beautiful auric, you know, configurations. Great. And then also as part of this handout as well, what would I really like to achieve in my life right now? So I would also kind of share that. So this would be my handouts that I would give the clients for more of the healing, personal development work. I would also share with them nonviolent communications. Have you guys heard of this? Have I shared this before? Yeah, Hannah has. Pedro, what about you?
No.
I think I shared it during Limitless, right, Hannah? Or maybe you've heard it before. So nonviolent communications is about energy exchange. So sometimes when I coach couples, right, I dive into a slightly different component of this altogether. And nonviolent communications by Marshall Rosenberg is a great way to inspire compassionate communication. So sometimes we may want to clear the space, the emotional space between us, right? Because I notice a lot of times when I work with couples, when there's stagnation between us, when we're like angry at each other, or we're not talking, or there's something that is preventing us from connecting, it's foundational. And so it would be really hard to get into a great sexual space unless we clear this sort of foundational emotional almost blockage in this way, I guess, in the way of a couple, right? It's not even personal anymore, it's just sort of relational. And so one of the ways in which we can clear it is by open communication. So I love this approach. It's called nonviolent communications. And it has 4 steps to it. One of them is observations. The second one is feelings. Then there is needs, and then requests. And basically people take turns discussing, you know, the issue that they're concerned about, and they go through all 4 steps, and then the other person mirrors back what they heard, and then they switch, and then they sort of become, they focus more on how to resolve the situation. So I usually cover that as well. If there is sort of a couple's energy orgasm session involved. And then usually at the end, I would also give them some resources in terms of lovemaking notes. And this is either for couples or just for people who are just for individuals. And that's another thing that some people don't realize, that you can experience this phenomenon on your own, right? Like you don't have to have a partner in order to have an energy orgasm. It could be a completely great, amazing solo experience. And so the intention would be not to orgasm, but to sort of merge with your lover on the energetic level, or to merge with yourself, creating sacred spaces, beautiful, setting up the candle, sensual objects, maybe toys, perhaps some, you know, food that is playful, maybe some pillows. And then we usually do some connective exercises, whether it's harmony breath or circular breath or eye gaze. And so this is either synchronizing your breath as you're breathing in together and breathing out together, or kind of creating a circle out of your breath so that one person is breathing in and the other one is breathing out. And so you sort of circulate in this beautiful energy. The eye gazing is an incredible exercise when we can look into each other's eyes for 4 minutes and just sort of dive deeper into that connection. We can also visualize connecting cords to each other through all of the energy centers. We can connect maybe the heart and the sexual energy center cords. And then this is diving more into the tantric stuff, and so Pedro can probably tell us more about this. But sort of, if they wanted to incorporate it into a couple's play, right, they would start with the sensual massage and just working from outside in, and maybe spending, like in my experience, 30-40 minutes just on a partner without sexual touch. So let's say somebody is on, you know, on their front, and their partner is exploring their body at the back, and just avoiding the regular erogenous zones, and then maybe using some coconut oil for that massage, and then turning them around and doing the same at the front. And only closer to the end, you sort of start exploring more of the erogenous zones, maybe using some coconut oil or massage oil, a bit of tease and denial, and separating giving and receiving, right? So let's say one partner is focusing on the other fully for like 30-40 minutes. And then when they start connecting more to the sexual energy, I guess for guys, when you're doing the edging technique, right, you don't want to go over 10. Pedro, do you ever work with men, or do you mostly work with women?
I'm open to work with both, but is that not many guys come to me.
Not as many, right?
No.
So I
So,
guess you
yeah.
need to sort of overcome that stigma or bias, whatever comes up
Yeah,
for them.
exactly.
But you guys are both, like Pedro, for sure, Hannah, you're also aware of edging, right? The concept of the edging, no? So let me tell you about edging. So the way, and maybe Pedro can also add a bit in. And so these are some of the tips on when the couple can play together in their own bedroom, right? Like, how do you incorporate the energy orgasm into your own sexual play? And so let's say 0 man is not aroused and 10 they have ejaculated. What you do is you start playing with this energy and you take them to, let's say, 7 or 8, right? And you can kind of playfully say, you know, your orgasm belongs to me today, and you know, you'll only come when they'll let you come, if that's the game you want to play, or you don't have to dirty talk. You basically ride the wave, and then when you notice, or when they tell you that they're at 7 or 8, you kind of stop, and maybe you go to other areas. Maybe you kind of keep them aroused and playing with other areas, and then you come back and you stimulate the penis as well. And one of our books for this course is Urban Tantra. Do you guys have access to that book?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So she has some really cool techniques for lingam massage, which is the massage of the penis, you know, prostate massage, and then massage of yoni, which is the more of the vulva and the clitoris, right? And so when you do that a few times, and it could be done orally, maybe like with your hands, maybe through intercourse, whatever, and breathe in deeply. And then when you finally allow the person to ejaculate, the orgasm tends to be a lot stronger because there was this sort of edging involved, right? Does that make sense? This technique. And you could combine edging, like I would instruct my male clients to combine edging with, let's say, energy orgasm, right? And stay away from ejaculation per se, but like build that up, build that energy up, build that sexual tension up, and then start moving it through the body. Did you want to add anything, Pedro, to the edging, or anything else that I shared so far?
No, you explained it very well. That's exactly what it is. It's just taking yourself or taking the customer to that point of before the point of no return.
Yeah.
And showing them that it's not just the genitals that is important. So you start moving the energy, touching other parts of the body, and then come back again. So
Yes, it's beautiful. And it's also, I find that tease and denial, you know, a lot of times in our culture, we tend to just go from point A to point B, right? Like we start and then we just want to finish. But it's so much fun, that space in between, right? And I guess that's what we're doing with energy orgasm too, in a way, right? Like we're in that sort of like tease and denial. We're into that like sensual, almost like, you know, sensory deprivation way of like moving this energy and denying and engaging. And it's so much fun when somebody teases and denies you and then allows you to come, you know, like you have such a stronger experience. And it also becomes multidimensional because then you're sort of connecting to it also emotionally and energetically, and you're so mindfully present that you are like enveloped in this incredible experience, as opposed to just, okay, let me just orgasm and you know, go back to my TV or whatever I was doing before. Does that make sense?
I heard a definition of Tantra recently that I liked, which was that it wasn't being promiscuous or necessarily sexual. It was self-discipline, that it was like, if somebody self-mastery, you know, your own spiritual and your own body and your own breath. And so what you talked about with deprivation is like an exercise in control, not the BDSM type of, I mean, that too, but to be very precise so that you know, like between 0 and 1, it's not like you go right to 10, you go like, give me like 6.259, you know, like that level of precision. That's nice, because when somebody is masterful, it shows, and it's a pleasure to, like a good chef or a good athlete, or like that's something to like to say that you're a student of Tantra, is to say, I know myself really well. I know how to read other people really well. Like I can be really precise and like, watch, ta-da, you know, you have like that, you know, that's so appealing. Like that's why people go to see shows or sporting events or whatever, because you're looking at mastery. So
For sure. And then it's, I guess, similar in a way to how you would work through premature ejaculation, right? Like sort of practicing and training yourself to feel coming to the edge, but maybe not quite, right? And so just kind of noticing that. And I think when we're mindful for women as well, when we're mindful, when we're so connected to our sexuality, when we're able to let go and completely surrender, it's so beautiful, right? Because then you can just embrace it and you can let go. And I think it's a beautiful practice, both tantric and the energy orgasm, in the way that it allows you to accept yourself, right? And just surrender to that sexual force and sensual force and the healing force and be present. And so it's beautiful, definitely beautiful. I'm just going to turn on the light and I'll be right back. It's getting a bit dark here. Oh, all of a sudden it's bright. Okay, perfect. And then breathing deeply. So we will learn to breathe in different ways, right? In order to start moving this energy and facilitating this energy. And I also recommend passing energy through your eyes, through your hands, through your hearts, through your sexual centers. So you can always kind of almost channel it through all of the different parts of your body. It's an interesting practice. So for people with penises, I say, you know, feel the limit of your arousal, don't ejaculate, stop and breathe while moving the sexual energy. And prostate, the lingam massage, if you recommend that, sort of that works really well, right? In my experience, prostate massage allows men to experience more kind of full-bodied experience, whereas like lingam massage is more localized. Has that been your experience, guys, or have you encountered different results?
Yeah, I'm agree with you. It's much deeper when you include the prostate massage, but it's common. As I told you, I haven't practiced a lot with that,
right?
Because I don't have customers. But yeah, it's different. It's much deeper.
More kind of full-bodied experience.
Yeah.
Have you had any experience with prostate massage, whether externally or internally? I noticed also for women, and let me know if you guys agree, that it's also kind of similar. I guess everybody experiences orgasms differently, but I noticed that clitoral for a lot of women also tends to be pretty localized, whereas like the G-spot tends to be more full-bodied, and when you combine it with the energy orgasm, it just becomes multi-dimensional. Has that been also your experience with regards to different types of orgasms and stimulation?
Yeah. In my experience, when I do touch and I work with the G-spot,
yeah,
it's much more emotional. You know,
right.
there's arousal and everything, but at the time that the orgasm is coming, usually it comes all these emotions out.
Right. It's deep.
So at the time that you're expecting someone to yell pleasure, they start crying, they start releasing other stuff, which it's very interesting. It's very nice to experiment that.
Beautiful. What about you, Hannah? What have you seen or experienced?
I think I'm holding it somewhere differently. I know I did have the experience of psychic surgery, and basically what got pulled out was my whole pelvis was full of black tar. So maybe it's a different experience than before. So I feel like I don't feel that. I feel like I hold it, and I don't feel like the blockage is there. The blockage is in my chest and on my upper back. It's that burden. It's not a trauma. So I think if somebody touched on me, they would, touch my heart or touch my shoulders, and that would be my release.
Got you. I hear you. Beautiful. Great. So for women, it's more about like clitoral G-spot stimulation and then visualizing the energy and basically starting to move it. Beautiful. Okay, sounds great. And
do you think you too that it collects there because that's where it comes in?
The energy?
Yeah.
Like at the base, you mean?
Yeah. Do you think that's why memories and other things, it's, I don't know. I guess it can get stuck anywhere, but I almost feel like it gets stuck there because that's where it goes in. I don't know.
Like could you explain a little bit more? Like when you have an experience with someone, you mean that energy sort of stays, or what comes up for you?
No, I mean, I wonder where people hold memories. I've heard teeth and
Mm.
hair and body parts and, different traumas from, childhood traumas in various areas and
I see.
having memory. But I feel like we have such a focus on, not just because of reproduction, but like, I wonder if there's such an emphasis on genitals, and what makes them special is because that's like your first entry point, right? Right, with the perineum of, okay,
That's an
I guess I'm
interesting,
looking for the logic of it, but that was the thought
yeah,
that popped
it's
into
an
my head.
interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, it's a good question. Like I always thought that it was like the trauma, the location of the trauma was kind of corresponded to more of the psychological function of each energy center. But it could also be like a physiological response. Like maybe let's say I'm scared, I tense up, and maybe I tense up my stomach. So maybe it's not necessarily because the solar plexus is responsible for, I don't know, self-confidence. But that's just, or maybe if somebody I don't know, had a horrible sexual experience, right? That's the side of trauma. So I guess that's what comes up for me. Maybe those two things, the psychological function, but also the physical one. But I'm not sure. It's a great question, Pedro. What do you think?
Yeah, it's very sad, but it's very true that a big percentage of people has sexual trauma when they are kids. It's bigger than we imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of this trauma that gets allocated around the genital area, especially on women. So
Mm-hmm.
when you work the energy at the G spot level, for example,
Mm-hmm.
you are releasing a lot of that, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
easy for anyone to have all this trauma, have these memories of something that you may never tell anyone because you were feeling bad about that, and you're trying to have a pleasure doing exactly the same thing. So
Right. So they were
it-
like sexually abused. Has
yeah,
that been your
exactly.
experience? Yeah.
So it stays there. So there's a lot of times when you work with that kind of energy, or with any kind of pleasure,
Mm-hmm.
kind of energy. I'm imagining including energy or orgasmic. There will be a lot of releases of that is very high, because you don't want anyone to know. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right now, we are in a society that everybody is speaking what they're having and everything. But if we go to our age population, our parents, or even above, they never talk about any of this. They stay married just because that's what they were supposed to do, even though if they were not being happy, or they were not having a healthy sexual relation, or a relation in general. So there's a lot of things that are there that's
Very.
very important, that people like us start working on this, because there's a lot of release on that.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, because I'm thinking about different clients that I had over the years, and some of them came from extremely conservative background, and so they had a ton of judgment, shame, guilt, and that's what stays there, like all of this energy, because they're like almost not in touch with themselves, because they separated this energy from themselves. They don't want to touch it. They're like, it makes them feel uncomfortable, and when you talk to them about it, there's already a sense of release, because you're sort of validating their experiences. And a lot of times we just need to share with someone, like as Pedro said, sometimes we don't talk about these things. There's such a stigma around it. And then the second group of clients were sexually like they had a ridiculous sexual experiences. Some of them just like blocked them off, and then others there was like actual physical and emotional trauma connected to sexuality. So yeah, so I guess those two cases are very common for me. And then you get people who are more exploratory, and they just want to learn, and they just want to, they already are enjoying sexuality, but they're so open-minded because they want to, and so they want to learn more. Or maybe it's people who are more into their personal growth, and they really believe that this is going to be sort of their next stage in their journey. So sometimes you get people like that, and they're a lot more open in that sense. I noticed that people who are more kind of very intellectual, very structured, but not in their bodies, also tend to have difficulty identifying what's going on. And so for them, I don't know if they ever had any trauma, whether it was like psychological or physical per se, but it's more, I think their belief system is preventing them from like diving deeper because they just don't think that there is an energy field or there is sexual energy, you know, and then if you don't believe in it, then it just doesn't exist for you. So I've encountered that as well. Is that helpful? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is these are great questions, you guys. I love it. Amazing. Okay, let's see, what do we have next? So we, I also wanted to show you very quickly what we're going to be covering in this second module. So the sessions will open for you one by one, right? And today's session should be open for you already, so you will be able to see the videos, and then you have some practices, some things to download here, and also meditations and the reading materials, the homework, and so on. And so we're starting with Urban Tantra, a couple of chapters, and we're diving into light immersion as well, into self-awareness. And then each couple of weeks, we dive into different sections. So this one, we're going to continue moving into different ways of learning to sense the energy and move in charge. And I'll teach you step-by-step energy orgasm, and then the structure of potentially your sessions, if you would like to structure them the way I structure them for myself, or maybe you can come up with something else. Session number 3, I'll take you deeper into emotional work, and I'll share with you how to use multidimensional body scan to guide your clients to understand themselves better, but also to allow you to give you this extra tool to be able to use for healing. And then session number 4, we're going to actually start practicing the energy orgasm on our own. And if you guys ever need an extra session, we can always also meet one-on-one. Session 5 is the most fun one. This is where I teach you all of the facilitation techniques, and I show you on the videos, and I also share with you this document. I think it's like 20-page document with different techniques that you guys will be able to use. And then session number 6 is going to be, again, one-on-one supervised session where you bring a client in, and then we practice the multidimensional body scan, chakra diagnostics, combine it maybe with chelation if needed. But basically, our focus is to work on the energy orgasm. And throughout these sessions, we will start working with our clients, just kind of going step by step towards achieving the energy orgasm. On the course materials section, you also have here a few meditations that you can use. There's the body scan. There's also a few emotional, working through emotions techniques, becoming aware of your inner voices. There's an energy system healing, and then there's also energy orgasm step-by-step meditation, and so on. So you guys will be able to use this as well. Great. Do you have any questions about that?
No.
No, you guys both have access to module number 2, right? And if you are not able to access it, just let me know. So let's go into the practices now. So let me just find it. So these are some of the exercises that we're going to start practicing. And we can start practicing them now, but also at home. So the first one is going to be the PC muscle squeeze. And so the PC muscle, and you probably both know, right, what the PC muscle is? Beautiful. So we will be using it as our own sexual pump, right? And we will be at some point combining the PC muscle squeeze with the actual breath. And so learning to kind of connect deeply to this experience, and also maybe be mindful while we're doing it, will be very beneficial for our practices. Connective breath. So, you know, we learned the diaphragmatic breath, right? And that's the type of breath that I usually encourage us to, and let me stop sharing, so I'll just talk you through it so I can see you better and you can see me better as well, but you have access to this handout. And so diaphragmatic breath is a type of breath that we use typically at the beginning of each healing session, right? And it really jumpstarts your parasympathetic nervous system, so it puts you more into a restful, meditative state, a more relaxed state. And that's the one where you breathe into your stomach, right? The connective breath, you're still kind of breathing into your stomach, and Pedro can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're sort of doing it in a more circular way. So you breathe in fully, and then I usually encourage breathing out through your mouth, so that you start kind of making a sound, and then you breathe in through your nose, and you sort of breathe naturally, but it's a connective breath. So there is no stop between the breathing in and breathing out. Is that how you would describe it as well, Petra?
Yeah, that's correct.
Beautiful. So it's sort of like a circular breath in the way, right? Where you're feeling, you're breathing fully, and then you are breathing out with your mouth. And once I go through these, we can practice them together. Then there's going to be an experiential of opening energy centers, but this one, we will be opening them up, breathing from the bottom with the PC muscle squeeze. It's just a little twist, you know. Before we used to open, let's say, the energy centers, breathing in from the top, and it wasn't really essential per se, because we're just visualizing the energy opening up. When you add the PC muscle squeeze and you breathe in, and then you breathe out, and you stimulate your energy centers that way, right? You're also adding a bit of more of the sensual touch to this. So we're going to be practicing that. Another experiential that we mentioned was the Kundalini microcosmic orbit. And so this is the one where you do the PC muscle squeeze, and then you visualize the energy moving at the back of your spine in a circle on the breath in, and then you release, and then you breathe out when you're visualizing the energy going down. And I know some people do it in the other order, like which way do you usually do it, Peter? Do you do it at the back going up? Yeah. So squeeze and breathing in, going up, and then release and breathing down, going down. And so you are basically starting to move the sexual energy just in a very large circle through your whole body, and you're using the breath, your circular breath for it. And I usually encourage people to also sound things out. Because the sound really carries your energy, right? So if you sound if you allow a sound to flow, it actually enhances and it carries your energy further. It sort of intensifies it. So it allows us to continue. And then the last experiential, my personal favorite one, is called a role play wild orgasm one. And that's the one you can practice at home. I usually recommend it to clients who have a hard time letting go, right? And so this experiential, the way you would do it is you find the time when you feel comfortable at home, when nobody is watching, when you can close the door, and then you sort of pretend like you're this, I don't know, porn star or whatever. Like you try to enhance your experience as much as you can, almost like fake it until you make it type of thing, and just explore what it feels like to be having, like, let's say a solo play session by yourself, when you're sounding things out, like when you're extremely loud and when you're moving around a lot more than usual, right? So you're like really pushing your boundary. And some of us may already be there, some of us may be here on this continuum, and some of us may be like completely quiet and not moving, right? So we're somewhere, and I guess it also depends on the situation and whether, the partner and everything else. But it tends to help, in my experience, and let me know, you guys, if you have ever had experience with this or similar exercise before. When I have people that have hard time letting go and sort of surrendering, and that's also the reason for 4 sessions, when I talk about the energy orgasm package, is because people need to trust you and feel comfortable with you, right? Because this is a vulnerable space. Of course, we're talking about sexuality, we're diving into emotional, deeply into emotional healing, into spiritual healing. We start chatting about shame and guilt and judgments when it comes to sexuality, and then we ask the person to start moving and making sounds and like basically have an orgasm in front of us, right? So giving them a bit of a slower start is always helpful. And so when I see that the client is kind of a bit uncomfortable, right, sounding things out or moving with the energy, I would give them this with this experiential and say, okay, why don't you try at home, just like fake a role play, just like the wildest orgasm, and then see how it feels, right? It may feel silly, it may feel great, it may feel, you may never go there again, but you may actually notice that, hey, when I was making the sounds and when I was moving, it actually enhanced my experience, right? So you may feel that, or you may say, I'll never make sounds again. Like I had clients who would just feel completely uncomfortable making sounds. What's your guys' stance on like movement and sounds and that sort of whole continuum and the spectrum?
I do that when I drive because nobody's in the car with me. And
I love it.
Anybody listening?
Yeah. I love it.
Because there's a sense of anonymity. You feel like you have another, plus the metal around you, you feel protected, but yeah.
I love it. What about you, Petra?
Yeah, for me, it has been a big change because I used to be very quiet.
Right.
So some of my learnings in the last years was that it was very important to express yourself.
All right.
That's the correct word, to express it.
Yeah.
So you're expressing everything that you are feeling, and you start. It's completely different.
Yeah.
I never heard about this exercise of just going.
Right.
That sounds fun.
It's a fun exercise. Yeah, I think it's great, especially for those clients who are a bit maybe shyer. I had a tantric practitioner in my previous group, and it was hilarious. We would do our exercises like on chakras, right? And she would be like, ah, and she would like make like at first it would take me by surprise, right? It was like, oh my God. Like she just felt so confident and comfortable with making sound that like whenever we would do our exercises, she was like, ah, you know. And then she had a client that was hilarious, and maybe Petra will do the same too. But she had a client for for the healing, not even the energy orgasm practice, but for the healing for chelation. And so she and I'm doing the supervised session, you know, she and the client are in the same room, and she's like wearing like bikini, right? And then the client is like, hey, you know, like, what do I wear? She's like, oh, it's clothing optional. And I'm like, oh Lord, because like in my practice, everybody uses usually clothes, right? But like in hers, they're not, right? And so the guy, he left the underwear on, which, you know, I was like, thank you, I didn't pay. And then the whole healing, the way it went, you know, she was like, ah, it was just so like expressive. So I loved it. It was incredible. So whichever way we want to apply it to our practice, no judgment. But yeah, it's some people are very anxious with regards to making the sounds and moving, and then others just do it very easily. And I find that's also a big predictor of like how easily this process will go. And if a person is having a hard time relaxing and like surrendering, give them the exercise, role play and wild orgasm, and you know, encourage them to surrender. Okay, perfect. So this would be one of our homework exercises. Okay, guys, do you want to try some of these exercises?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. So we're going to sit down, and I want you to maybe let's close our eyes just for a second. You know what? Do you guys mind if we do like just a 1 second washroom break and a water break? And then so let's do like a washroom break, and then we'll start the experiential. Welcome back. By the way, Hannah, do you have music that you use for healings or that you use for like sessions? Do you use anything specific?
No, I didn't think about it. The only sound I've ever used was the tones that came with the Genius Insight app. I mean, I have different music to use, but
would it be helpful if I made some recommendations?
Well, it might. I mean, it's a lot easier to find the music than to find the people for me at this point. I mean, it would be whatever they want to listen to. So
it's true. I was just asking Hannah if she has any like music that she likes to use for sessions. Do you have any music that you typically enjoy using for the sessions as sort of the background music?
Yeah, I have some meditation music. If I do tantric, a tantric session, I found some CD that has some. It's weird because it's not erotic music, but it has her touch. And it start moving up and up and up and up during the
rhythm, right?
I like it. I try others, but I didn't connect to them. If not, I use some flute music from traditional American, Indian American flute.
Oh,
I love.
I love it. So maybe we can exchange some music ideas if you guys have any favorites. I love using personally this tantric music for tantra sessions, like sort of more of the energy, or like more sensual, sexual sessions. I use this one.
Yeah.
And then because it's a long mix, it's like 2 hours, just in case I need that long. And then I use singing bowls for the healings, like the non-sensual ones. So it's called his name is Sonic Yogi. Sonic Yogi. Like this guy, Tibetan singing bowls, right? He's got different chakras. So that he has C, he has D, and I usually use his stuff for my more of the meditative healing. So just kind of start thinking about the music that you may want to use. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, perfect. So maybe let's place one of our hands on the heart, one in the stomach. And let's just connect to ourselves for a few seconds, just settling in. And maybe take a few deep breaths. Just notice the way you're feeling right now. Beautiful. And then when you feel that you're connected to yourself, we can maybe start with the BC muscle squeeze. So you can just gently squeeze your BC muscle, breathe in, and then release and breathe out. And again, just squeeze and breathe in. And release and breathe out. And do that a few more times. You can also try to maybe quickly squeeze and release, right? Do a squeeze, release, squeeze, release, and notice what that does, right? Also notice if you're squeezing your stomach at the same time as your BC muscle, and just try to maybe separate, just use BC muscle only. Beautiful. So this becomes our own kind of sensual sexual pump when we start working with the client. Now let's practice connective breath. I want you to breathe in kind of fully and then breathe out through your mouth. Full. And maybe make a sound or a sign. Just basically visualize this breath going in and out of you at a comfortable speed. Just no pauses between, between breathing in and breathing out. So just between breaths. Just notice how this breath lives in you. Relaxing and opening your jaw, and also releasing any tension in your face. So breathing in deeply and inhaling into your belly, and just exhaling without holding your breath. So just notice if anything changes as you practice this breath. Beautiful. You can also, keeping your eyes closed, you can start visualizing opening or open, it doesn't matter whichever way you guys want to work with this. You can visualize breathing into your perineum and doing the BC muscle squeeze, and then breathing out full and releasing. So you're just visualizing red energy. Ooh, coming in and out of your perineum and just opening up your first energy center. Beautiful. Use BC muscle squeeze. Great. And when you feel that the first energy center is open, you can start visualizing orange energy coming in at the base with the BC muscle squeeze and coming up to the second energy center and then down. So just visualize an orange energy coming up. With the BC muscle squeeze and coming down. Oh, wonderful. So keep visualizing it. Beautiful. And noticing how this might be different from the previous time we were opening up our energy centers. You might start feeling warmth or excitement or tingling. Let's now use the breath and the visualization of the yellow and breathing in with the BC muscle squeeze coming all the way to the solar plexus and down. Oh, beautiful. So keep doing that. Keep visualizing the energy coming up all the way from the base to the third and back. Great job. Let's come up to this, to our heart now, visualizing green, breathing in with the BC muscle squeeze, breathing out. Oh, just opening up your heart. Great job. Keep visualizing this beautiful energy rising inside of you and coming up to the heart and down. Oh, great. And also what I noticed with my clients, with myself, when we sound things out, the sounds tend to change as we go through the chakras. Like they tend to become higher, the frequency becomes higher. And so just notice what happens. Beautiful. Opening up your heart and then keeping the rest of the energy centers open. The red, the orange, the yellow, the green. Amazing. Great job, you guys. When you feel that your heart is open, you can start coming up and visualizing bright blue and just going all the way from the base into the throat and breathing out, directing that energy with a BC muscle squeeze. Oh, beautiful sound and things out, breathing in a connective way. Great job visualizing the colors and the flowers blooming. Wonderful. And enjoying that sort of pleasure-filled central way of opening these energy centers. Great, amazing, amazing job. Oh, so keep channeling that energy. And if you feel that your throat is open, you can start directing now the energy all the way from the base into your third eye, visualizing deep indigo. Oh, and just keep on breathing in a circular way, breathing out through your mouth. Love it. Beautiful. Letting yourself move with this energy, just allowing this energy to come through. Oh, beautiful. And then let's do the last one. We're going to visualize shimmering white color coming in through the perineum with the BC muscle squeeze all the way in and out of the seventh. Oh, great job. And you can actually here start shifting it more into the next exercise, which is the microcosmic orbit. So breathing into your perineum, visualizing the energy going all the way up at the back, and then releasing at the top of your head and breathing it down, visualizing it going down. Squeezing, breathing up at the back, visualizing the energy climbing up. Releasing and breathing out. Oh, and so keep on circulating this beautiful energy, visualizing this wonderful central energy just cycling all through your body. Great job. Noticing how visualization and the sound and sort of the movement of this energy allows you to feel it more and more. Wonderful. Amazing. So just keep cycling this a few more breaths. And then starting to bring this to a close, just kind of assessing what's going on with your energy centers, noticing how you're feeling, and also integrating all of this experience. You could potentially place one of your hands on your heart, one on your second energy center, and just connect your sexual and your loving energy and visualize this beautiful movement between the two centers. Great, great job, you guys. Beautiful. Wonderful. So let's just take a few more minutes to incorporate. And then when you're ready, you can start bringing your awareness back into this room. Just slowly starting to open your eyes and let me know, how was this experience for you? What has been going on for you guys? What was different about it from our regular kind of routine, if you can call it that. I love our routines. How was it for you guys? The PC muscle squeeze, the connective breath, and then sort of the energy center opening and the microcosmic orbit. What were you experiencing?
Cold and windy.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's up here.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
What do you feel there? Like a lot of energy?
Yeah, it's like it to come out my head, but stuck at my eyebrows.
Oh.
It's getting dense.
Oh yeah. Great awareness. And you can direct it back into your stomach if it feels uncomfortable, or you can just sort of discharge it into the earth, or just feel what it is that you need to do in order to make yourself feel more comfortable. Great. What about you, Pedro? What were you experiencing?
Well, I love the sensation. I start feeling, when I start pumping, I start feeling like lots of energy on my body. I start growing, and when I complete the cycle, it just feels good, you know. I feel energized. I feel, I don't know, it's very nice.
Beautiful. Yeah, and it's a different sensation, right? Like from opening the energy center is kind of when you add that PC muscle squeeze, does it make it more sensual, more energetic? Like, how would you describe it for yourself?
It's more energetic and it's more targeted to move the energy. It's not
I love it. Yeah.
focusing on one chakra and trying chakra. You are
more directional kind of
all around your body. So even though I have this visualization that is moving through my spine, I start feeling these flashes on my arms, on my chest, in different places. So it's
very cool.
Nice.
Beautiful. What about you, Hannah? How was it different from what we've previously done, like less of the PC muscle squeeze?
Yeah, more movement.
More movement.
But also cold. But as we worked up the body, it feels like breathing, like cold wind, like breathing in through the belly button, breathing in through the chest, breathing in through the throat. Even though I know I'm breathing in through my nose, but it feels like I'm breathing in through my skin.
Yeah. That's a very cool way of describing it. Beautiful. That sounds great. Wonderful, you guys. Well, we're sort of at the end of our first session of module 2. How was it for you? What was the most useful thing? What did you experience? What did you learn today?
Most useful was the breathing exercise, because we get into these conversations and I get very analytical, right? So it's nice to forget your identity for a while by having somebody give you something to do. Yes. Beautiful. I love it. What about you, Pedro? What was the most useful for you?
Yeah, the exercise was the best. You know, I've been feeling so bad for the last 3-4 days. And then you find out that you forget that doing these little exercises will make a change. So right now I feel very good comparing to what I was feeling this morning, you know, which is pretty nice. Amazing. Well, you guys rock. I'm so happy to have you here in our module 2. I'm very excited.
to continue our journey. So let's keep on practicing. Let me know if you have any questions. All of the materials are here, so you can download them all and you can sort of use them whichever way you want. These are the practices. There are some videos here as well. Reading materials are listed here. Let me know if you have any questions as you go through these. And as usual, please send me your homework a couple of days before.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. I'll be in touch. I'll send you a follow-up email. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.